New Mexico 2nd Congressional District. I so wish I could have been there today to do this in person, but as you know, Speaker Pelosi is playing games again, and she's going to call us for votes all through the week, so I can't be there. But I do want to talk about something I am so passionate about, as I know most of you are as well, and it has been such an honor to work with so many of you over the last number of years. I am a staunch supporter of the Balanced Budget Amendment. I think our founders had it just right in the Constitution when they used Article 5, wrote it in there, and gave us the backstop to stop our federal government from running away from us. And sadly, that's what's happened. I've got a front row seat of what's going on in Washington. The tail is wagging the dog, not the other way around. And honestly, the government worked for the people. The people don't work for the government. And this is why Article 5 is such a huge tool with backstops already put into place. This is, to me, one of the safest things we can do, and honestly, one of the smartest things we can do. Look, I have more faith in the people of America and our state legislators than I do in our federal government right now. We are on a spending spree, and I believe that if people want to get concerned about a runaway convention or changing the Constitution, they really ought to look no further than how crazy this government is right now. Americans should be more afraid of the policies and the spending coming out of this federal government than they should be about utilizing our Constitution, Article 5 of our Constitution. And in fact, right now, our national debt is at $28.5 trillion. We talk about debt as if it's just a few dollars. It isn't. $28.5 trillion is going to be on the backs of our kids and our grandkids for generations to come, unless we stand up and do something about it. And the reason why I know this works is because some years back, we did a simulation. We actually did a convention of states. We did a simulation where we called all the states together. There was actually a representative from every single state there. We elected a speaker. We followed the protocol and the decorum of an actual house or an assembly. And we had good discussions, lively debate, and it worked. And we were able to do it in a manner that would be reflective of what a real convention of states would look like today. I gotta tell you, it will be the one thing that will save this country, the one element of our Constitution we can put into use to hold our federal government accountable. President Biden, he's planning to bankrupt the future generations with the highest federal spending in history. But the solution is not to crush the American people with more taxes. Instead, we need to solve Washington's spending problem once and for all. Most of the bills you're seeing coming through that have an appropriation attached to them, there's no pay for. So what that means for the American people, higher prices at the gas pump, higher prices for food, higher prices with our products that we use day in and day out. I want to see the states empowered to draft a balanced budget amendment for the American people to vote. To do that, we must set the time and place for an Article 5 Convention of States to propose the amendment. Only one more state needs to pass the Article 5 application constitutionally mandate that Congress call the nation's first convention of states for proposing amendments. This proposal voids any convention proposed amendment unrelated to a physically responsible federal government or federal budget, which eliminates the danger of a runaway convention. South Carolina could be the final legislature that calls the Convention of States to propose a fiscal responsibility amendment for voter approval. I am proud to support the Balanced Budget Amendment, just as millions of Americans are. And in Congress, I will introduce a resolution calling for a balanced budget amendment. But right now, it's time we use the Constitution, we use Article 5, and all of the effort, the time, and the energy that so many of you have worked hard to protect our nation, protect our biggest and best and greatest asset, which is our future. We've all worked so hard to get to this point. And I know Rob Natelson has done an incredible job of ensuring that we have the right number of resolutions. We are one state away. We are one state away from calling on our federal government to balance the budget once and for all. I am so proud of this team of people who worked extremely hard throughout the last number of years. I'm proud of all of you for your interest in balancing the budget. And I can't wait to introduce this resolution in the US House of Representatives. So let's make sure that we're continuing to push in hard, get that one last state, that 34th state. And let's do something the American people can be proud of for a change. Let's give the control back to the people. Let's balance our budget once and for all. And let's really appreciate and enjoy the fruits of our labor. So again, I'm Yvette Herald, New Mexico's 2nd Congressional District. I wish I could have been there with you in person, but right now I'm fighting for freedom and liberties in Washington, D.C. And I can't wait to join you soon and can't wait to introduce the balanced budget resolution. Have a great rest of your conference. God bless you. Hey, everybody. It's Yvette.
Yes, we have allies in Congress. They know their hands are tied. They look to you to present to them the opportunity to move this forward. We're going to be moving to Senator Rex Rice from South Carolina. You've heard some mention of South Carolina through the afternoon so far. We're going to hear from Senator Rice. While he's coming up, there was a question that came through. How do you get to 33 right now is not the count? I thought the count was 32 after the Colorado rescission. Rob, do you want to take that?
Yeah, first let me say that Yvette gave me too much credit in that. All I did was kind of pave the wall, pave the floor or road with research. It's other people like Dave Biddulph, for example, who have driven this particular caravan for many years. Secondly, I want to mention also that one person came up and made a point, which I think is a really important one during the break. And that was that if you're going to have a balanced budget amendment, you've got to create a situation where there are stakeholders who will enforce the amendment. And one way to do that is to provide that if Congress wants to run a deficit, it has to get the approval of 3/4 of the states in order to run the deficit. That means if Congress disregards the amendment, you have entities, state legislatures, who can have standing in court and who could enforce it. I don't think it's enough for a balanced budget amendment to simply state an internal rule. There's got to be some enforcement mechanism, as I think that Dave Walker mentioned earlier. As for this particular question, do we have is the number 33 or is it 32? There are currently 27 applications for a balanced budget amendment. There are 6 applications for a plenary or open convention. That's the that's the basis for the number 33. And I think if Congress wants to call a convention with one more application, Congress can do so. The confusion arises because one of the balanced budget applications, that of Mississippi, may not aggregate with all the other balanced budget applications. And the reason I say that is because Mississippi's application says we want a balanced budget amendment and it must read exactly this way. And it actually sets forth how the amendment has to read. I think a court or Congress might very well take the position that that simply does not match the other broader balanced budget applications. I think ultimately that's going to be a decision for Congress. And I think that the position that if you want a balanced budget amendment that you need to take is that Congress should count all of them. But it also would help, to underscore the point I made earlier, to get some additional applications, right? General ones that unquestionably aggregate. It's not enough to simply wait for South Carolina. We need South Carolina to act, but other states need to act as well. Again, we need a steamroller.
Senator Rice has been a warrior within ALEC and within the legislature and in this movement, and has moved things incredibly far in South Carolina in a short period of time. And Senator Rice, we're excited to hear from you and give an update on